Okie dokie. I am here to review Jackpot Juicer finally as a year in type thing. Obviously, it took a long time to get here. 1 year in isn't the average amount of time people take to review an album, I would say. It felt hard to give it a fair and balanced review when it first came out. So we're going to try to do that today. And I guess the thing I think about the most when I think about this album is the fact that it's so fucking long. I mean, even if you don't count the intro track, Untitled Part 2, there's still 17 tracks in the fucking album. The type of person I am, I'm going to chew on anything for a while, but something with 17 tracks, it's just going to take me a while to really form my opinions on it. So I think that probably also had a lot to do with the fact that I didn't feel ready to do this. But, 1 year anniversary, I figured we could get it done and get it out. And not to mention, this is something people have asked for. I don't know if I'm going to figure it out in editing, but comments? There they are. People asked for it. I put it off for a long time. I think the best way to start, the first single. Synergy came out. It comes out. It starts with that tapping riff. Is just slightly offbeat feeling, but perfect at the same time. Something fresh, something new, and that's how it felt. That's how I really felt, and I was getting excited for Jackpot Juicer, because I was like, dude, if this is the lead track, it's gonna be so good because. On top of that, even though I really do love everything that DGD has released, sometimes the first single isn't my bag. I have examples. Prisoner came out. I like it. It's not like, oh, I don't like this band anymore. It's just once I compare it to the other singles, the first single is not my bag. At least with Prisoner's case, the video that went along with it made it much more interesting. Made me listen to the track a lot more than I would have. I don't know if I just heard it too much. I mean, that's also a thing that happens. You get left with that first single the longest amount of time, so you're going to be tired of it first. But no, Prisoner, it's not my bag. My point being, a lot of the time, the first single is not my bag. And the Synergy still is. A year in, I still like Synergy. It's a good song. I tried to figure this out, but the thing is, I looked it up. I really did. I tried to research this man that's featured in Synergy, right? And oh yeah, he's in a band, right? Um he's a guy in a band, and I mean I really think he is just a guy in a band. I watched one of the music videos. And they have a guitarist, right? Cool. Bass player, drummer, cool. This guy standing in front of microphone. And they all start rocking out, cool. Yeah. This seems like a music video. So yeah, then the drummer starts singing. And that's what makes me think that this guy, Rob, here, is not even the singer in this band, Don Bronco. I think he's just a guy in a band. He's not the guitarist. He's not the bass player. He's not the drummer. The drummer's the singer. I don't know. I don't know much, and I don't pretend to know much, but I think he's just a guy in a band. But yeah, his feature's good. It feels like it fits. DGD's been doing more features, and a lot of the time they pick people that are very close to them. They do stuff close to them, but this is definitely towards them branching out. With the Don Bronco feature. I mean, I'm sure. It's just a little different. Okay, so I'll talk about the video for a little bit because the video is cool. When it first came out, it's really fun and the energy, and you feel them unfolding the beginning of some kind of line that's happening, similar to what they did in the past, not only just with like sequels to songs, but like with the robot with human hair videos and whatnot, like that kind of stuff. So strawberry swishers, like like that. Those examples. They're opening up a new story, a new line to follow, which is exciting, and it's fun and it's cool. And one of the things that stands out to me in the video when John crawls in to investigate the infestation of rats, that line he does, I just like repeat it. I watched that so many times, and I hope there is more of this like really fast screaming that's like scream rap from John, because it just fits so well and it's so cool and it's like refreshing. The energy's over. We get Holy Ghost Spirit. Holy Ghost Spirit is definitely not one of my favorites, but there's definitely some cool stuff in it that I like. That actually does lead me into one of my critiques of the album, is that I've alluded to it before. It's too fucking long, and there's enough songs on it that aren't incredibly unique from each other. When you group them all together, it can be difficult to differentiate some of these songs. Yeah, you know what I mean? And that's definitely, in my opinion, not a poggers thing. I don't think that's poggers. Some of the things that I think are worth highlighting on the track. When John says bye bye at the end of that intro, oh yeah, dude, this clean little guitar part is pretty sick. The gist of this song is John carries. There's some slick guitar riffs coming out of choruses and riffs that tie the whole song together really well. But John carries, man. John's lyrics carry, dude. Okay, and so the second you go into the next track, For the Jeers, which was not a term I was aware of. I didn't know about him. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know there was an anti-cheer. But okay, tangent over. You start off with For the Jeers, and the first thing you hear is Daddy Dola, Mr. Andrew Wells. And this is the first album that he is officially a member of the band. He is not just recording for them certain parts or touring with them. He is in the band now. He is a guitarist and a singer in the band, and that's cool. Andrew is smooth. We get Daddy Dola, and we thank people. We thank DGD for Daddy Dola. Yeah, I think Andrew would have been really interesting because, dude, as someone that's been listening to DGD for over 10 years, I have seen them go through the three vocalists, and I have seen them, so I'm not scared of a fourth. Fucking change up, bro. Switch up on me. Give me something new. Give me a new arc. Making a little style change, a little switch up, it's cool. It's nice. It's a nice little thing. And then this next one, I already know. Like, I don't need a refresher as much on it. They ended up pulling it off, but it's one of those. It's one of those where you're like, are we doing the Earth, Wind, and Fire thing? Is that what we're doing? Okay, quick note right here. Right when we come out of that intro into that next vocal part, that guitar part down there, that's like Will guitar tones right there. And that's like the kind of stuff I look out for a lot because it's like, it's so synthy. Like when I first started listening to DGD, I was like, oh, they put in like keyboard synth tones. Like, that's cool. But that's guitar. You start getting the overall vibe of like, okay, this is like a beachy album. This is like a summery album. This is like a vibey. It's not as dark and brooding and abstract. I feel like a lot the abstract stuff is still there, but I feel like it's a lot less abstract than your average DGD record. And here comes the Earth, Wind, and Fire part. I don't know why, but like the word remember I feel like is just like a really dangerous word to rhyme with, and it instinctually brings me to Earth, Wind, and Fire. You got some cool synthy guitar parts. Yeah, I like how John's pressing this narrative that Sacramento, his allergies just are. He's got an issue with allergies in Sacramento. That's cool. It's a good track. It's definitely a good like get stuck in your head track for sure. The second of their singles and the second video, and the story follows it. They got sucked into the wormhole, and now the Rat King exterminator is now the Rat King Rat, and you know they're all fighting for their lives and all that, and it was fun. Yeah, I think I know everything I want to say about this one. So the video, I feel like kind of let down the first video. I like this track. I think it's a good track. I think it's a solid single. I think what it really shows in the development of the band as a whole is like through their transitions. Like I mentioned earlier in Holy Ghost Spirit, there's like some really good riffs that transition from the part before into the next one in a really smooth way, especially considering a lot of the time it's going from like one of those loud high energy parts into one of the smooth quieter parts. You feel those transitions tighter than ever, and then it goes the next track, man. Oh man, the next track's my favorite. Oh man, the next track's my favorite. I think we gotta do a listening of it just because it's my favorite. The first lyric is "Don't listen to acceptance speeches." They have an album called Acceptance Speech. Yeah, the only thing I don't love about this track is the verse, like the breaking into the verse, that high long note. I mean, that's just it right there. I think the whole song is really solid and it moves, and you don't get like lost in it. You just kind of you move along with it the whole time, and then you get to that part where you have John and what seems like a chorus of John's behind him doing almost like ad libs, not quite ad libs, but backing him up, and that's fun, and it gives you this kind of back and forth dynamic, and then it just goes into that really clean, just disgusting noodle riff that, I mean, like the riff alone is fucking disgusting. But then when he hits it with the boo at the end, and you hear Matt go like back into the, oh my god, like that is my favorite part of the album alone. Like a soul section of the album, that's it right there. That the whole album builds up to that for me. It's fucking awesome, and it just makes that whole song feel so much more epic. Yeah, that's definitely up there for me. And then it goes into the one single that's a music video that isn't in the line of the other three. The whole thing is just vibes. Like when I mentioned the summertime vibes earlier, I think these guitar tones like perfectly describe it. I mean, Twinkling is like a perfect example. It's like these twinkly little riffs, and I mean, they just sit there so well, and it just happens through the whole thing. And then the end of the song is just this giant build up with this like big high note, and it's awesome. It's a good song. I think this is another one of those ones where I don't want to say John carries, but I really like John's parts in this. Um, and then it goes into the last single that they have. I always think about this when I listen to the album beginning to end. Whenever I play the album from beginning to end, track 8, 9, and 10. I mean, these are like my three of my favorite songs, and the fact that they're lined up in a row is like is nice. It's good. It's good track placement for me. This one, I believe, notoriously, it was mostly written by Andrew. I believe Andrew approached Will with this like guitar part and like portions of the song written for sure. Like he was writing a song, for Adola, or was just writing a song for himself or whatever, and he was like, "This is a DGD song." And I'm pretty sure when they announced the video, that's what Will City said. Hey, check out this song that our guitarist Andrew wrote for us. And I mean, you listen to the riff and it sounds like a Dola. Like it's, you know what I mean? Like it's not hard to imagine Daddy Dola wrote this. Like that's a Daddy Dola riff if I've ever heard one. But it's a great song. It's a good song. It's fun to listen to. I'm remembering a part in it that I think it's another John part. I got to be honest. Those John parts, they go hard on this record. And then the one other part in this song that I really really like is this part that goes into, it's John during a really heavy part, and it kind of goes into that like heavy scream rap that I was talking about before that I like, that goes on this record a lot. But yeah, I like that part a lot. Um and I think it's a good middle area. Those three songs, man, it's a good strong middle section. And then it goes into Two Secret Weapons. Track 11. And this is one of the ones that I happen to know. One of my pals that I got into DGD, who's a little younger than me, he this is, I believe, his favorite song on the record. Yeah. Um, and I find it interesting because I think he really likes the clean vocals more, and this song doesn't have screaming until the very end. They do the thing where they're like, "Oh, it's like a normal song, and then we're gonna flip the DGD switch at the end and do the DGD thing." Right, this is how they do it. It's this nice little like CD skipping part, and I like it. I think it's a cool little change up. You know what I mean? It's interesting enough. So the next track is Polka Dot Dobbins. And I mean, let me tell you, just by the name alone, I wanted to love this song because I just saw the name of it and I heard the intro and I was like, this is a John song. Like, I just had to listen to Two Secret Weapons, which is almost not a John song at all, and this is going to be a John song. Also, normally the B sides have a lot more like unclean vocals. Like, generally speaking, the B sides do have more uncleans, I find. Um, and when you start it, it's promising. But yeah, within 20 seconds, you immediately get clean vocals. So then you're like, okay, maybe it's not a John song. But yeah, this is a cool. We got a cool little reverby guitar riff here. A little, it almost sounds cowboy-y. Got a little. It's cool. But I can't. Like, this is good. This is good. I don't want to be too harsh on it. Yeah, I think it's a good song, but it's just another example of like those short songs that I feel like I just want more. But the next track, 13, is definitely one of the ones I really like. So back to what I was talking about earlier, where I was like, the transitions in this album just feel like the best they've been, maybe ever for them. This song I feel like is, oh my god, such a good example of that, because when it goes from the verse to, I don't know if this is what they consider the pre-chorus, because then there's another part after it that's repeated. So I think this might be considered the pre-chorus. But holy fuck, are the fucking guitars and the drums and the bass so perfect in this part. Oh my god, it just goes into it, and the verse, it's just easy listening. It's just easy listening. And then the only thing that I think at first I really, my first reaction was like, oh, this is funny, I like this. But they do this like unclean breakdown, like or excuse me, it's a clean unclean breakdown. um John starts screaming and the guitar tone gets super clean, but they do kind of like a traditional breakdowny rhythm almost. Not traditional, but pretty something you would expect to have a lot of gain on, and it's not there. And it's at first I was like, oh, this is a novelty. This is a new thing. They've never done this. I always love when they do new things. But at this point, sonically, I just don't love listening to it. Like jamming, jamming, vibes. 11 out of 10 right now. Like, love this. Love this. Okay. 4 out of 10. Like, it just shoots way down. It's fine, but it didn't age with me as well. It's the one thing that makes that song not perfect for me. The next track is number 14, Back on Deck. And this is one that they had gotten on a lot of radio stations, actually. I don't know how the fuck this ended up on the radio. I also, out of any of them, this wouldn't be the one for me. I think that's the other crazy thing, but that just goes to show that I have no business telling people what should be popular music and what shouldn't. Yeah, I mean, it's another one of those ones where it starts off really strong, great John part, and then it slows down. And I don't want to sound like I don't like the unclean vocals, like obviously I do, but it's just not the most interesting ones that they've ever had. But then we get this cool little lead riff. Dude, like when Will just does like basically guitar solos over vocals, it's just the core of DGD right there. Like that's what I realized when I first started listening to them. I'm like, oh my god, it's a band where they don't stop doing guitar solos, basically. Also, talking about like those chill, kind of quieter tones that they were using, and yeah, it was Long Nights in Jail. The Long Nights in Jail, that like clean tone that felt empty. This is another example of them using those like clean, summery tones that um, that work really well, and it filling it up a lot more than it did in some of the other parts. Also, the bass just feels like it's right in your face. It definitely feels like there's some kind of negative feeling towards whatever content creator they're talking about, or content creators as a whole. I don't know. Can't quite, I don't want to get too introspective on this one. But that leads us into the bangers, the closers. Boom, right there. I mean, you start this song and I get happy. Dude, the riff at the beginning of this song is so good. I think what I like about these the verses and the vocals here right now is that it's a lot busier. The rhythm of the vocal melody is a lot busier. It's not slow. I feel like we've gotten a lot of clean vocals out of DGD that, like, especially in the modern era, that are just slow and long held notes, and it's fine and it's good and it works, but it's just we've had a lot of it, and I think, at least for me, when I listen to DGD, I really like seeing the new stuff happen. So this is much more appealing to me at this point in time, like listening to this record, because it just feels busier. It feels like there's a lot going on. It's reminiscent of like a lot of those singles and stuff from Afterburner, where the clean vocals just they feel energetic. They're bouncing around. They're doing things. It's nice. So once you get into the verse here, you find that they're doing one of the things that we all love. They blend the uncleans and the cleans. I'm like, you can't tell. I mean, I can kind of tell it's both of them, but I can tell it's both of these, but I also can't tell at the same time. Yeah, I mean, and then they give us the sick riff again after the chorus, and the chorus is fucking awesome. And John screams, "Pray to God for your mother." And if you can't get behind that message, I don't think I need to have a conversation with you, because I think everyone I know can agree with, pray to God for your mother, because she deserves prayers. Everyone's mother deserves prayers. That's a fact. And then they give us Matt doing the oh, come on. And then we get the we're spoiled. On this track, we are spoiled. We're getting spoiled on this track. But that's why I mean, like, I have such positive reviews of so many of these songs. And then there's so many that I don't even have so many, just a handful that I'm so neutral on, with like a part I really like, and then a part that I'm really not that into, and then maybe a part that I'm like, I kind of like. And it just makes it like above neutral. And I just feel like, man, if this record had anywhere between 12 and 14 songs, it would just go so fucking hard. I mean, Pretty God for Your Mother, wonderful track. Classic, fits perfect into the the DGD end of album arc. The rest of the album is like one whole vibe all the way through, and then you get to Pray to God for Your Mother, and it's like the transition into like, okay, these are like the super epic long fucking weird abstract songs, and these are for the guys that are like me, that have been waiting for them. And the second to last one is Swallowed by Eternity. Just don't make sense on this very bright and colorful fruity album cover. Like it doesn't make sense. But granted, they are all fruit in a casino, and fruit will all rot, and casinos will always win. So maybe this is kind of their message, being like, it's over. You know what I mean? Like, the strawberry has died and the casino has won. There is nothing left in the ATM to take out, and you're going to be swallowed by eternity. So yeah, it gets a slow build up, and then it switches, and it just moves you right through it really quickly. And then you get one more little build up into a very, very cool ending of the song. We get a little Daddy Dola at the end, because that's how we want our DGD records to end nowadays. You know what I mean? We want to be shipped off by Daddy Dola. We want him to say, it's okay, you can go home now. So I think the reason why I really like Andrew doing vocals is because he almost feels like a conglomeration of all of the previous DGD vocalists in one. And maybe that's OP. Do you know what I mean? He might be overpowered, but like, dude, putting him on one of the last songs on the record and letting him just tear it apart, it feels like the right thing to do. It feels like the right way to send off the album. So that leaves us with the last song, the last track. But um one thing that came to mind when I was listening to that is one of my only other critiques I have for this whole record is, man, the layers on the clean vocals are really, really high mix sometimes, and there's just some really cool guitar riffs that get engulfed by the harmonies. So that's something that I don't love. Granted, DGD's mixing has always been very unique, but I feel in the last few, vocals have taken over a bit. And I could, maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like the last couple records, vocals have had more and more harmonies, and it's been harder and harder to hear the riffs underneath them. I also feel like they're trying to write towards it, and there's less like noodly riffs during those harmonies than there used to be, and there's more like rhythmic chords instead. But I still want to hear what the rhythm is, because it's never fucking 16/16 notes or eighth notes. Like, it's always something. So that's like one pretty strong critique through the whole record, basically. Like, even on some of my favorite songs that are the big, long epic ones, those harmonies, man, they're eating up a lot of those noodles, and I'm a noodle guy, man. I'm here for the noodles. I need to hear those noodles. Yeah, about a minute in, it just starts becoming a ripper. Yeah, like a minute in, it does the thing I don't love at the beginning, but a minute in, it just starts ripping, and then it's just a ripper, just a straight ripper through the whole thing. And I mean, very complementary to each other. The parts going back and forth. So yeah, they go into the ending part, which they summon Daddy Dola again, but with that really high note that's like distorted at the end, and I mean it's just like too fucking high, and it's distorted, and then they kind of like change it with this little like quiet riff, and then everybody comes back in with the new vocal part, and it just leads into the ending being one of the best endings that they have recorded. So then we get this amazing group choral scream sing of this lyric part that for me feels very reminiscent of acceptance speech. Ironically enough, John having that lyric saying don't listen to acceptance speeches, but where they say profound, enlightening, inspiring, meaningful statement, go on, no one makes it out alive, go have a great life. And I think, I mean, is there like that's just a great way to end a record. It reminds me of acceptance speech, because the last lyric is uh disregard the message at the ending of the album, and it feels like that kind of vibe where it's like, oh yeah, we gotta, it almost like they put in a block on the lyric sheet, we'll find a profound, enlightening, meaningful statement, and then like at the end they're like, yeah, that'll just be the lyric or whatever. Like I doubt that's how they came about it, but it is very it's very DGD for them to do that, and then to follow it up with the nobody makes it out alive, go have a great life, is at least, something. Maybe it could be enlightening, could be profound, it could be inspiring for some people, but at least it's something. You get something, you know what I mean? It's not just they didn't just debate us, they gave us a little something. I mean, imagine being at a concert, and it's like the end of the concert and the lights are going nuts and everyone's screaming along, and this is so it's great. Great way to end the record. I feel like anyone that really knows this record as well as me knows that I have not talked about every track, even though we're here at the ending, because I purposefully skipped the beginning. I started at Synergy because it was the first single, and then I just jumped into the track listing. But I find the way this record starts, it's one of my favorite things DGD's ever done. I mean, Cream of the Crop and Untitled 2 are incredible. I don't think I need any kind of listening to go through it to talk about it, because I've thought about this so much. First of all, you start Untitled 2, you're kind of expecting something in the vein of Entitled, you know, a build up to the first full track on the record. And it is that. But I was immediately shocked to find out that it's an orchestra. And I was like, holy cow. They hired an orchestra. Now, is it Pro Tools and they didn't hire an orchestra? Maybe. I don't know. But I like to imagine they hired an orchestra. Because I think they did. Because why not? And it builds into the song perfectly. The song starts really fast right after. It punches you in the face. And, I mean, noodly riffs, high energy, fun vocal parts. And I talk a lot about how DGD, I like when DGD tries new things. Well, for me, Cream of the Crop feels like DGD almost trying like a Disney song. Because the ending of Cream of the Crop to me feels like it could be in a fucking Disney movie. Or the bridge. Maybe not the ending, maybe not the outro. But the bridge part. Definitely when, because what happens is the orchestra comes back all of a sudden, and there's another surprise. It wasn't just on the first track. They recorded some of the orchestra for the second track. And it all starts working, and it feels really good. And it feels like it could be the climax in a Disney movie, and a princess is crying. And and then you get the outro with John, and I mean, I want to get the lyric exactly correct. There it is. Dude, when I heard that, big bangers, swang thangers, go to shows, straight bops, all I got, you should know. I know it sounds stupid, but that spoke to me. And I know it sounds stupid. I know it sounds stupid. That spoke to me so much because I feel like that's all I've been saying for the last 10 years of my life is that, hey guys, DGD, big bangers, swang thangers, go to shows, straight bops. That's all they got. You should know. Because that's all I did, man. I went to dozens of DGD shows before COVID. I haven't been to one since, but before COVID, I literally went to dozens of DGD shows in the course of almost 10 years. And every time an album came out, I was excited. I mean, if you look at my old videos, you know, I am definitely a big fan of DGD. And you can even hear me say it in my old videos where I'm like, they only get better, they don't get worse. And so when I heard this lyric at the end of this after their Disney moment, and it was powerful. It was very powerful. The first time I heard this, it moved me in a way that their music doesn't normally move me. Like it touched my heart. I was like, "Whoa, I feel heard." Like I felt acknowledged. I felt like they were like tipping their hat to be like, "Hey, you guys that seem to huff Dance Gavin Dance to survive as if it was oxygen. Thank you. We appreciate you. It may be an unhealthy obsession, but we do appreciate you and we see you." And that's kind of how I interpreted it. And maybe I'm huffing copium, but you know, that was the vibes I got. And that's why I felt like I had to talk about that song last because I just feel like it is the most powerful song on the record. Wonderful way to start it. And when you kind of factor that back into it, it does make it a lot easier to play through the whole thing beginning to end with those slower, maybe less exciting parts being a little, less frequent considering you got such a big banger to start it off on. Um, an even bigger banger than Synergy, I should say. So, yeah, I mean, that's the overall thoughts. And I mean, I struggle with a lot of things in life, but I struggle to put a number on this. I haven't quite done that before with any record ever. The whole out of 10 thing. Um, but I think I can because I think after a year and how much I love it, I mean, it has so many of my favorite things on it. But there's things that I'm critical about. So I think out of 10, I think I'd have to give it an 8.5, which is a great score, but it's not my favorite DGD record. I'll be quite honest. It's not my favorite. There's ones that I do like more just from the beginning to ending. And you know what? Maybe it doesn't count because maybe live records shouldn't count. But honestly, listen, man, if you're gonna do, listen. I have other DGD records that have 18 songs on them, and I would prefer to listen to those sometimes. I don't know. I think I would put Tree City Sessions 2 over Jackpot Juicer. I think I would. When I think about, they're similar. You can compare them. They are both doubles. They both have lots of songs on them. Um no, neither of them share a track either. That's an interesting thing because, Jackpot Juicer was released after. So they don't share any tracks between the two of them, so you can compare the two. And I honestly, I think I lean Tree City Sessions too. But granted, it's a live record. It's got a mix of literally almost everything they recorded before. So maybe it has advantage. It probably does. But yeah, overall, 8.5 out of 10. It's a good record. It's definitely worth a listen if you've heard a little bit of DGD and you're kind of interested in getting some more on your playlist or something. There's a lot of really, really, really cool songs to pick up. If you've used to listen to DGD and you haven't listened to the new stuff, it's worth a playthrough, for sure. and just to see how they've progressed, because there's some really really cool stuff that I think old DGD fans can appreciate in there a lot. Um, and if you've never heard of them at all, I don't know why the fuck you're watching this video.